I didn't know why it didn't make a sound, but thank you, Maddie. Barry Allen, Diana Prince, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent. I believe Diana spells her name with one N.
One N? Wait.
So,
No, no,
Oh God, no.
it's
no.
too late. It's too late. You've already made the mistake. All right, you everybody ready? Here we go. We start with a math toss-up, everybody's favorite.
Oh, wonderful.
This will require some computation, but not much. If each of the base angles in a triangle is 35 degrees, what is the measure of the vertex angle in degrees? You have 5 seconds. Molly.
110.
110 is correct. And Gilbert's still mount up and jumps out to big 5 point.
Yes!
All right. Oh, we're playing volleyball now. I quit. We win. Second question. In 1998, the editorial board of Modern Library voted it the best American novel of the 20th century. Set in the fictional town of West Egg, it tells the tale of the title character and his obsession with Daisy Buchanan. What is the novel?
Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby is correct, Bruce. Well done. You must be reading there in the Fortress of Solitude. And that, of course, evens out the score at 5. Here we go. Employed by the Dutch East India Company, he sailed to the New World in 1609, commanding the Half Moon. Who was this Englishman who explored the river and bay later named for him?
Henry Hudson.
Henry Hudson is correct for 5. One type of this class of macromolecule obtains a 5' cap and a poly-A tail after its synthesis. Another type reads an anticodon that is complementary to the codon of the other, which is made via transcription. What are these nucleic acids containing uracils, which come in transfer and messenger types and use ribose as a sugar?
RNA.
RNA is correct. Well done, Clark. And it's generally defined as a young, college-educated person who has a career that pays well and who lives and works in or near a large city. What is this term? First used in the early 1980s, drawn from the acronym for Young Urban Professional. Well,
A yuppie.
it is a yuppie, yes. It existed from 1967 to 1976, starting with 11 teams. In 1976, the New York Nets, Denver Nuggets.
Basketball.
No, can't accept that. The New York Nets, Denver Nuggets, Indiana Pacers, and San Antonio Spurs joined the NBA when what league was merged into it? Cherry Valley Springfield. Okay, we'll call time. The answer is the ABA, the American Basketball Association. This law can be replaced by the related and somewhat more accurate van der Waals law. What law, a combination of Gay-Lussac's, Boyle's, and Charles's law, can be stated PV equals nRT? Call time. The answer is the ideal gas law. In 1920, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos were listed as Indochina on maps. Those 4 sovereign nations today were protectorates of what European country? Poland.
England.
Not England. Can you take it? Cherry Valley, Springfield.
Russia?
Buzz in, please.
Russia?
No. France.
Oh, because they speak French.
That's right. So after the first round, my scorekeeping is correct, which it sometimes is. Cherry Valley Springfield leads 15 to 10. That means Gilbert's going on up. You have first choice or first bid in the answer auction. It was not a popular answer auction question the first time it was read in this round. We'll see how well you can do it. Here's the answer option question, unless we have substitutions, do we? Okay. If you consider the disputed territory of Kosovo as part of Serbia, Serbia shares borders with 8 other European nations. How many of those neighbors can you name? You have first bid GMU. They give 2. Cherry Valley Springfield, will you go 3?
I will.
You'll go 3. Will you go 4?
No, you got the input now. We do not have 4.
They're not going to go 4, so they'll give it to you for 3.
Slovakia?
Sorry, no. Give me 1 for 20 points.
Which one most complicated?
Which one of those 2 are you going to pick? Captain, your answer, please, for 20 points.
Yugoslavia.
Sorry, no, Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Captain, Cherry Valley Springfield, you have another chance for 15.
Oh, God. Bosnia?
Yes, indeed. The others are Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Croatia, Montenegro, and Albania.
Montenegro.
So 15 points for,
There's so many. I said the one that was.
makes it, all right. Any substitutions, or do we go on to toss-ups and bonus? All right, we're going on, and the first bonus is in the category eye diseases, one of everyone's favorite, eye diseases. Here's the toss-up. The square of the current is proportional to the energy field, to the energy held by these devices. Their characteristic measure can be increased by inserting a metal bar in the middle of these components. Name these devices, which include solenoids and toroids, and are represented in circuit diagrams by a coil. Colin.
Is it a resistor?
I'm sorry, it's not a resistor. Can you take it, Cherry Valley? Barry Allen.
Is it a battery?
No, it's an inductor.
Yeah.
In German, Spanish, and French, the verbs sich heißen, llamarse, and sapere are used to tell someone else your name. What's the literal translation of these 3 reflexive verbs?
I call myself?
I'm going to be nasty here and say no. Sorry. Being an old language teacher myself, Molly.
They call me.
No, it is to call oneself, a reflexive verb. We had an infinitive there, and that infinitive can't be I call myself. Okay. Since nobody got any points out of that, we can all feel good about it.
No, I can't.
All right. Ronald Reagan called it trickle-down economics, saying that lowering taxes on the rich results in more and better paying jobs for the non-rich. It's actually a macroeconomic theory that calls for lower marginal tax rates and less governmental regulation. What is this theory named for one of the 2 concepts that determine price in a market? Barry.
Demand?
I'm sorry, no. Can you take it? GMU. We call time. It's called supply side.
That's what I was going to say.
All right. Still flying for that eye. We don't want that eye disease one, do we?
No.
Okay.
Nobody wants that eye disease.
His theorem says that the power set of A has a greater cardinality than A. The fractal name for him is created by taking the closed interval 0, 1 and repeatedly deleting open middle thirds. Who was this mathematician whose second proof of the uncountability of the real numbers used his namesake diagonal? Oh,
Pythagorean.
I'm sorry, no. Can you take it? Cherry Valley Spring. The answer is Georg Cantor.
So close.
Yes, very close. Fleeing the duchy, where her uncle has usurped her father's place, Rosalind arrives at the Forest of Arden with her best friend Celia. Orlando and Rosalind, Oliver and Celia, love-struck shepherds Silvius and Phoebe, as well as Touchstone the Jester and Audrey, all marry in the end in what Shakespeare comedy it contains the All the World's a Stage monologue. Molly,
A Midsummer's
I'm sorry, no, can you take it to Cherry Valley Springfield? So you remember any Shakespeare comedy?
No, I don't
Answer
remember.
is, okay, we'll call time, it is as you like it. Okay, she was a nymph and a favorite of Diana, but when Diana sought to discover her husband being unfaithful to her with the nymphs, she delayed Diana with small talk until the nymphs could escape. An enraged Diana sentenced her to never again be able to initiate conversation, but always have the last word. After a failed romance with Narcissus, who turned to rock, always repeating the last words spoken to her. Call time, the answer is Echo. All right. It's one of the 2 U.S. states with a name whose last letter is an unpronounced S. It is home to both the Ouachita and Ozark Mountains and contains the only diamond field in the United States. What is this southern state called? The natural state, whose capital is Little Rock.
Arkansas?
Arkansas is correct. And we're finally going to get to that bonus. And here it is. The open-angle form of this disease develops slowly and is the most common. What is this eye disease caused by high intraocular pressure, which can lead to blindness? It is glaucoma. Glaucoma is the most frequent cause of blindness in this group of people in the U.S., where they make up a little more than 10% of the population. What group of people, unfortunately, also has higher than average rates of diabetes, hypertension, and sickle cell anemia?
African Americans?
African Americans is correct. A patient is asked to note irregularities in the lines on an Amsler grid in a test for what other eye disease named for an area of the retina that contains a depression called the fovea? Captain? We'll call time. The answer is macular degeneration. And finally, overall glaucoma is the second leading cause of blindness after what clouding of the lens in which clumps of protein are deposited in the lens?
Atlas? Cataract?
Cataracts is correct. Yeah. I heard the first answer, but I gave it the answer correct. So, ancient Greek theater, one of our favorites, the category of the next bonus. She earned her law degree in 1995, but began a second career as a journalist in 2003, working first for an ABC affiliate and then for a year, and then moving to Fox News Channel, where she currently anchors a highly rated primetime show. Name this woman alleged by Donald Trump to have treated.
Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly is correct. All right, here's your bonus in ancient Greek theater.
I know.
The maximum number of actors used by playwrights in classical Greek tragedies was what? Maximum number of actors.
That's real helpful.
Captain?
You mean you might know. 13.
3.
Oh.
Until the Hellenistic period, All Greek tragedies were written in honor of what Greek god? The god of wine, fertility, religious ecstasy, and theater.
Dionysus.
That is correct.
Hey, okay. I know the Greek god.
He's credited with adding the third actor, thereby diminishing the importance of the chorus. Who was this author of Oedipus Rex?
We don't know.
Sophocles. And finally, the chorus and the frogs engages in debate with the main character, Dionysus. The Frogs is a satirical comedy by what author? The answer is Aristophanes. World War II, the category of the next bonus. Here's the toss-up for 10. His administration saw the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, the Clayton Antitrust Act, the Federal Farm Loan Act, and the creation, the creation of the Federal Trade Commission and the return of the federal income tax. He ran for a second term under the slogan, "He kept us out of war," but the U.S. actually entered World War I during what president's term in office? Now we know, don't we? Woodrow Wilson.
Oh.
All right, this is the last toss-up, so we'll either get to the World War II bonus or we'll finish it here. Harvard broke a 66-year drought with its appearance in 2012. Yale, Columbia, Bowling Green, and Tennessee Tech have not been in the field since the 1960s. One sporting event, held primarily in March each year.
Basketball.
Prompt.
The college basketball, whatever I don't know.
Sorry. Held primarily in March each year, started with 8 teams in 1939. Cherry Valley Springfield.
March Madness?
I'll accept March Madness. The other was the NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. It had to go a lot farther than just basketball. Here is your bonus, Cherry Valley Springfield in World War II. First of all, let me find that last question was question 18. And it was answered by all right, let's see what happens in World War II. Best known for his North African campaign, what German field marshal was known as the Desert Fox? Captain, your answer? Call time. The answer is Erwin Rommel. The Allied invasion of Normandy took place on June 6th of what year?
1941.
Captain?
I'm a captain.
You got a star on you.
Oh, that's just because I was.
Oh, you're just having a good time? Thanks, Captain. Okay.
1941.
1944. Who was in charge of the German defenses in Normandy? Trick question again. It was actually Erwin Rommel. And finally, how did Rommel die?
Pardon.
We're going to call time. Hitler forced him to commit suicide.
Oh, that one's it. I knew it was something.
I have 60 to 25. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Come on.
I think it's time to score some points here, folks.
I
right?
agree.
Let's score some points.
I'm very disappointed.
Here are your 4 categories, unless we're going to do some substituting, are we?
You want those two?
Come on down.
Okay, the 4 categories are these, and Gilbert's still not up, and you'll have first choice of these categories. They are off, and off is in quotation marks, so that means all of the answers will begin with off. On is in quotation marks, all of the answers will begin with on. House I'm going to ask you to give the state each of these people represents in the House of Representatives. And finally, not exactly hardware, where all the answers will sound like items you'd find in a hardware store.
I guess we're doing on.
They're going to go with on. Cherry Valley Springfield, your choice of the remaining ones. Off, house, or not exactly
Off.
off. On and off. I'm tempted to read not exactly hardware for you just to show how much
Yeah,
fun
I
it was
wanna
in,
hear
but I don't think you will. Okay. You chose on, you chose off. Good. We'll start with on. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, don't forget, captain's gonna give you answers, give him help. Not give him help, give him help. What three-word phrase means getting better? Call time. What three-word phrase means compliments of the management?
On, wait, three word phase?
Three-word phrase.
On the house.
On the house is correct. Besides on the run, what three-word phrase means on the run from the law?
On. On the fence?
No. What kind of price is quoted for cattle being sold live? Call time. What two-word phrase describes the next batter?
On deck.
On deck is correct. What sporty three-word phrase describes a person who's with it? Call time. What three-word phrase describes a corrupt official who takes bribes?
On the ticket.
No. What three-word phrase is applied to people who can't make up their minds?
On the fence.
On the fence, yes. What three-word phrase from archery describes something that's exactly right?
On the money.
No.
Oh.
What three-word phrase describes a person in trouble with the boss? Wait, it's not a three-word phrase. So we've called time on that. You got question number 2.
Two right. Yeah.
And we've got question number 5. Chance to steal 80 points, Cherry Valley Springfield. It's a really good category for you. Let's see what happens. What three-word phrase means getting better?
On the mend.
On the mend is correct. Besides on the run, what three-word phrase means on the run from the law?
On the lamb.
On the lam is correct. What kind of price is quoted for cattle being sold live?
On the market.
On the hoof. Okay, tell your captain, by the way. What sporty three-word phrase describes a person who's with it? The answer is on the ball. What three-word phrase describes a corrupt official who accepts bribes? The answer is on the take. What three-word phrase from archery describes something that's exactly right? On the mark is correct. And finally, what three-word phrase describes a person in trouble with the boss?
On the line.
On the carpet or on the spot?
On the spot.
All right, you chose off as your category, Cherry Valley Springfield, so let's see what we can do with off. Remember, CMU, you're going to get a shot at everything they miss, pass, or don't get to. Here we go. Where outside the theatrical district are plays produced in New York City? Okay, call time. What four-word phrase describes places not frequented by tourists?
Off the beaten track.
Yes. What two-word phrase describes dirty jokes? Sorry, time is up. What three-word phrase can be applied to an impromptu speech?
Off the cuff.
Off the cuff is correct. What two-word phrase from fencing describes a relaxed condition? All time. What two-word, where is it that someone who's become agitated is often told not to go?
Off the edge.
No. What phrase describes a policeman who's not working at the moment?
Off duty.
Off duty is correct. What three-word phrase refers to a factory worker who's punched out and gone home?
Off clock.
Off the clock is correct. What time of year do motel rates go down?
Off season.
Off season is correct. And finally, what two-word phrase describes bad singing?
Off key.
Off key is correct. So, finished with a rush there. So a total of 60, if I have that right. 6 questions you got, right? Okay. Yeah.
I was told.
You were psyched. All right. Off is the category, GMU. Where outside the theatrical district are plays produced in New York City? Off Broadway is correct. What two-word phrase describes dirty jokes?
Off park.
Off color. What two-word phrase from fencing describes a relaxed condition?
Off guard.
Off guard is correct. And where is it that someone who's become agitated is often told not to go? Off the deep end.
How we doing?
I have 65 to 140.
It's so close.
You can come back.
Okay.
Don't get them points.
Okay, what did
Negotiate.
what did you have? Okay. I only had them picking up 30 there, and I only had them picking up 7 there. Question number 8. Now on. Guys? Yes. I'm counting on you being honest here. What three-word phrases apply to people who can't make up their minds? Did you get that right?
No, on the fence, yes.
You did get that
Because
right.
remember I said, oh, that's on the fence.
Well, we got the one wrong.
I didn't read it.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. So, the other one that,
So that would balance it out.
yeah. So that has to be 30 something, has to be fixed up. Okay. 75. Yeah, 75, 150, folks.
We can explain them.
So, since there are 15, we can do the math here. There are 15 questions left, and they're all worth 15 points. That's a lot of points. Okay?
Let's get them all out there.
So let us see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. with question number 19. One of two men to serve as U.S. president using a name other than his birth name, he was the third youngest president at 46. He was the first Democrat elected to 2 terms since FDR. Despite several scandals, his approval rating when he left office was the highest of any president since World War II. Who is he? Barry.
Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton is correct. Daniel Hilbert's Grand Hotel thought experiment is an attempt to explore this mathematical concept. In biology, the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium assumes a population of this size. L'Hopital's rule is applied to indeterminate forms, which can contain 0 and what other quantity? Or what other quantity? Oh,
36. 36.
I'm sorry, no, take it, cherry on spring. The answer is infinity. Born the same year as Johann Sebastian Bach and George Frederick Handel, he's primarily known for his keyboard exercises and sonatas. Who was this Baroque Italian composer who transitioned into the classical period while living the final 24 years of his life in Madrid, Spain?
Beethoven?
Oh, I'm sorry, Beethoven was not Italian or Baroque. Yes?
Just go with Mozart.
Mozart was also not Italian or Baroque. The answer is Domenico Scarlatti. It has varieties known as complexometric, back, and setup potential. Quantitative analysis makes frequent use of this technique, which has an endpoint when an indicator changes color, often about 1 drop after the equivalence point. What is this analytic technique used to determine the concentration of a substance?
Is it titration?
It is, in fact, titration, yes. In the 1930s, he painted figures from mythology in a somewhat abstract style. In the 1940s, he developed a style of his own using blocks of color on vertical canvases. Who was this Russian-born artist, considered along with Jackson Pollock and Willem de Kooning, one of the most famous post-World War II artists? We call time. The answer is Mark Rothko. Its territory is divided among 3 sovereign nations. Approximately 73% of its area belongs to Indonesia, about 1/4 is part of Malaysia, and 1%, of what 3rd largest island in the world, is the Sultanate of Brunei. Eric.
Philippines?
Not the Philippines. Can you take it, Jim? We'll call time. The answer is Borneo. It's a verb that means to behave in a blustering, domineering manner, or to bully. What is the 6-letter word drawn from the name of the greatest Trojan hero in the Trojan War? We'll call time. The verb is to hector. Je ne sais pas means I don't know. What word replaces pas if you want to say I don't know anymore? The answer is plus. Je ne sais plus. In the model organism Arabidopsis, these structures contain the only cells where slow channel L, or SLACL, is expressed. Their most prominent role involves a mechanism that uses KEP carboxylase, prevents photorespiration, and minimizes water loss, in which they only open at night in CAM plants. What are these pores in plant leaves where
Stomata?
That's correct. Most Americans knew nothing about this until the Columbian Exposition of 1893 in Chicago featured a display of equipment used to make it. A 43-year-old Pennsylvanian bought all of the equipment and started a company bearing his name in a central Pennsylvania town to make what sweet treat, especially the milk variety? Molly. Not Molly.
Is it chocolate?
It certainly is chocolate, yes. It was Hershey, yes. It was Milton Hershey, yes. Okay.
I was overthinking that
You
one.
can't get everything right. All right. Question number 29. He gave the longest speech of any president on Inauguration Day. It lasted almost 2 hours in freezing temperatures.
William Henry Harrison.
That is correct. You know your long speakers. Objects similar to it include Nix and Hydra. It was discovered in 1978 when James Christie noticed a periodic bulge in photographs of the body it orbits. The center of gravity of the system it's part of is not located within the body it orbits, and that's the primary reason that orbited body is no longer considered a planet.
Pluto.
Pluto is part of the question. What is this object that orbits Pluto, named for the ferryman of the dead in Greek mythology? No, it's not God. We'll call time. The answer is Charon. C-H-A-R-O-N. His early work is described as comedy with menace. His body of work, including The Birthday Party, The Homecoming, and Betrayal, earned him the 2005 Nobel Prize for Literature. Who was this British playwright and actor, an anti-war activist, and pro-Palestinian, married to novelist Lady Antonia Fraser? Barry.
Dog trombone.
I'm sorry, no? Can you take it? Jam in. The answer is Harold Pinter. Named for the indigenous tribe that lived on its shores, it could almost be considered an extension of Lake Michigan, since they're connected and the two are at
Huron. Lake.
Lake Huron is correct. It's been described as the first battle fought entirely by air forces, generally considered to have taken place during 1940, beginning with an air and sea blockade of England in July. What was the name given to the 5-month conflict between...
Battle of Britain.
The Battle of Britain is correct. And that brings us to the end of a well-played match. The final score, as I have it, 135 to 95 in favor of CBS.
You sort of. No, Lucille has 100.